It's like skateboarding goofy foot. It's like reversed.
Yeah.
Okay, that was close enough. Let me hit record.
You're from the gym.
Right. You are.
Hi. Sit here.
Now.
She started the live stream already, so she did. Yeah.
It's a weird view of one's
Right.
back of my head.
Okay, go ahead.
I know. I was.
Welcome to the Public Works Committee, and I'm calling this meeting to order at 4:03 in the afternoon on Friday, October 17th, 2025. Let's just go around real quick and introduce folks that are here.
Brent Caseman. Graham Peters.
Chris Workman, City Manager.
Kevin Fair, Public Works Director.
Gianna Bernardini.
Okay, and Rich Salzan. I'm the chair of this little organization here. So we will start first with just a consent agenda with the minutes attached. Any updates or changes to the minutes as published? And so it's you and I. So I will entertain a motion.
I will move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, and I will second that. So it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. So we're going to change the order here a little bit, just since you folks are here. It just makes it easier. Then you don't have to kind of go through all the public work side. You can escape before.
I know you're dying just to hear about it.
So let's just kick this right off. So the tree canopy project.
I think this is your email that kind of generated this on the agenda for this meeting. Just we had talked prior to the summer about giving away some trees that Public Works has had for a while that are in containers. There was talk of doing that as a part of the Sunday market, maybe doing some outreach, and I don't know if any action was actually taken on that over the summer.
No, Shannon, our Public Works office person, she made a bunch of cards up and gave them to the mayor.
Okay.
And he gave them to me. They're sitting on my desk.
Okay.
He was planning to be able to do some of the farmer's market this weekend, as the last weekend for farmer's market. But then he also wanted to offer some. If anybody else wanted to take some, I've got them I can give you right now if you want some additional. But other than that, nothing's been done other than the cards being prepared.
Okay.
We've given a couple trees away to some other people who have come in and have asked about them. So.
Oh, really? Just randomly, they were like, "Hey, do you have trees?"
Yeah, and some of them came up. There was some of them that just actually stopped by and asked about planting trees. We said, "Oh, we've got a tree or two if you want one."
Man.
Oh, great. Yeah. So
Originally, this idea was generated by trying to get some more trees planted on private property in areas of the city that have less canopy cover. So we were looking at targeting certain neighborhoods for that. That was at least originally the idea of it, which I think is a great idea. I think not letting the trees go to waste is also a good secondary idea. So I don't know if, like giving cards out at the market is a good broad way. Anybody that wants a tree can have a tree, and as long as it's getting planted in Philomath, I think there's a net benefit to that. But for me, I'd like to see the trees not get wasted if they're not going to get planted by
I actually thought about this today as I was walking, and I was going down College Street. There's a brand new tree that's planted on College Street. I thought, I wonder if this is one of those trees. It may not be, just be coincidental that somebody just had planted a new tree. But I completely agree. But who's going to manage this then at the farmer's market? Who's going to have the cards available, and where are they going to live?
The mayor said that he could be there and he could do it. He also offered it. Oh, there's Mr. McMorrin virtually. Let me get him on. He might be driving.
How many are left?
Trees or cards?
Oh, trees.
I do not know that. I don't know how many we planned. I mean, we've got,
Do you have a vague approximation? More than 100?
no. Well, if you want to go with the little ones, we do, but probably good ones that we would
About
wanted to
20-ish?
get rid of that are 3 or 4 and 5 years old, probably 20 to 30.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
Okay.
Did we get Christopher? Oh, thinking. Okay, there you are.
Hello.
Hi there.
I'm gonna turn my camera off and drive, but I'm here
Okay,
in a
well,
sense of the
well,
word.
thank you. Welcome, welcome. We were just in the conversation about the tree canopy project, and I understand, Christopher, that you're going to be around the farmers market on Sunday to hand out cards.
Well, am I? Let me. Did I sign up for that? No,
That's what happens when you miss meetings.
uh,
Well, will
well,
the
so the
city
issue,
have a booth there?
well, so that my thought was just if we can have a booth there, that would be, it's the last farmers market, so that would be a great time to distribute some of these. I think unfortunately I'm coming back from Central Oregon on Sunday, so I definitely wouldn't be able to be there the whole time. I could maybe be there for the end, but I'm not sure. And then where I was going to also get involved is then next week, if we have additional cards that aren't distributed at the farmers market, I'm happy to go around to a few neighborhoods that we kind of that lack tree cover and just knock on people's doors and hand them a little card. Because I enjoy that kind of thing, and I think that's a great way to actually get people to kind of think about it and take it seriously. So yeah, those were my thoughts on that. If folks are available on Sunday, I think the market would be great. Just the way my schedule worked out, I don't think I can commit to kind of leading that. But then after that, I'm happy to go around next week just in the evenings, and harass people at their doors. Um, and I don't know what I missed before I tuned in. Just that I do apologize that Public Works did give me those cards right before I left the country for 3 weeks. So that was just not the greatest planning on our part there. But I'm excited that they're here, and I hope we can at least make some progress on it this year.
Mayor McMorrin, before you did hop on, Graham had mentioned that one of the intents of this, the primary intent of this project originally was to identify neighborhoods that had kind of a lack of tree coverage and try to target those neighborhoods. And kind of made the point that going to the farmer's market is going to be more of a shotgun approach, just get it out to everybody. So I don't know, it might be worth discussion if you want, if is the farmer's market the best place to get rid of the cards? To get rid of them, probably yes, but is it in line with making sure that we're kind of targeting to target those specific neighborhoods, or we kind of got competing interests, I guess, between get rid of all the trees versus try to be a little more strategic in where they go and maybe have the risk of not getting rid of all of them.
We'll plant
One
them
thing
if they
to add to that too, and that's, the fact is that since this is Friday and farmers market's on Sunday, to try to find people to actually staff something on Sunday at this point is probably slim and none, honestly. I mean, unless somebody wants to just sort of say, oh, well, because you need a booth.
But
We don't have
doesn't the city council usually have a booth there?
we don't have a permanent booth, no.
Oh, okay.
No, we trade off, in fact, it's the Lions Club this weekend.
Oh,
As a quote unquote, not profit.
I see.
Yeah, we have a booth every other week.
Okay.
so next
So-
week is not, or this coming weekend is not our
Correct.
week.
We were on last week.
Okay.
Originally, the idea of using the Sunday market as a option was actually for delivering trees to people.
Oh,
Thought
that's
of the
right.
way of getting,
That was
Yeah.
gonna be,
it's like we were gonna target neighborhoods, do door knocking like Mayor McMorrin's talking about, and then have people come and collect their trees at the market instead of having all this one-off stuff, trying to coordinate with individual people.
that's right.
I
So,
think we changed, I think the cards, and I didn't see one of the cards, or I didn't look at it real close. But I think it gives them a number and a place that they can come pick it up directly from us, so.
For most
it's
people,
not
I think
moved
that's
all
great.
around. And we gave them a large time frame, so.
So it sounds like the better plan, at least, to go back to targeting those neighborhoods that lack a tree canopy and kind of do that first and do the door-to-door thing. And then, and Mayor McMorrin, what do you need in terms of support to do that, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I'm happy to kind of, take the lead on it. And then if anyone wants to join, I can just kind of reach out and let you know kind of when I'm thinking about going, and we can kind of coordinate that. But I don't think it'll be too complicated. I think the main thing is just, I don't know, Kevin or Gary or anyone, did we have any luck on kind of trying to identify which neighborhoods we want to target? I know we've had sort of off and on discussions about that, but I know we talked about maybe like looking at GIS or any sort of like satellite imagery or anything just to kind of get a more like, scientific idea of where to
Yeah.
look as opposed to just looking around. But I think that would be the main thing, is just if I'm told which neighborhoods to target, I can do that. But I think
Yeah,
I just am not sure of that.
it'd probably be one of the city maps, like our basic view that shows up on, yeah, either that or Google Earth. I'm not sure. Google
Okay.
Earth might be more up to date right now than what we are.
Okay.
So that might be a little more accurate just to look at Google Earth and pick a neighborhood and hit that.
I would like to be a part of that.
Yeah, and you
For when
too,
you're doing it.
actually.
I'll
So,
just divvy
Okay.
these
So
out
bad.
today then, and we'll save some for the mayor and.
I think we should give them all to the mayor, and
Yeah,
then he
well-
can give them to the people who are able to go walking with him, so we have them available.
Okay.
Okay.
Sheriff's
So,
also put on 100 miles a day walking around
Yeah.
town. See-
That's true.
he's done. So I think, Christopher, what I'm gonna do is I'll grab the cards here and
Okay.
and I will hang on to it, and you and I can kind of, Graham will reach out and
Yeah.
we'll email out and say, here's the day, here's the time, and we'll go canvas.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
unfortunately, a very short window because we're gonna be atmospheric here pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Going to be raining
Yeah.
like, well, all week. Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
Perfect.
okay. Anything else on that subject?
I'm super happy. Thank you for taking care of this, and sorry for being like, nobody did anything. I just was unaware that this had all been done, which is great.
It wasn't. As soon as you got your email, we jumped right on that.
This is too late, and I understand that, but I would have had a couple of suggestions for these cards had I seen this. And I think that's also why I thought nothing had been done, because I thought we would have heard about like what the process or something. And I know that it's faster to just give it to someone and be like, do it, now it's done. But having more eyes on things sometimes can be helpful just for things that get missed or suggestions. So in the future, I'd be appreciative if maybe there was at least a run through of the group, maybe like, this is what we were gonna do, does this look okay? I think it's sometimes helpful. Yeah, I also, likewise, I think we should, if we only have, say, 20 or 30 trees, then I feel like with some good salesmanship, we ought to be able to move that many trees within this town in places that really need it. That should be easy. But yeah, I also would be happy to walk around
Good.
and bug people, as well as letting them know that, like, we can help plant for folks who need assistance in that regard.
They like the tree, but they have no way of putting it in the ground, kind of thing.
Yeah, and maybe when we walk around, if we have an idea of they're not breeds, species of trees that we have, maybe if we had like a little, like a photo and a descriptor for people to be like, oh, I don't know. So they know, if they don't know what a redbud looks like or a ginkgo or whatever, then they can at least maybe be more excited about it if they could see them.
So an inventory of what trees there are. I mean,
Exactly, yeah, what we have available that might help sell it.
Can you do that and just send out a quick?
I think we had Lige go through and identify a bunch of them that were available. We might have that list.
Okay.
As for pictures,
I mean, we could just get a
We
generic,
can get pictures from the web.
Exactly.
Okay.
We'll just do a quick little one sheet, like this is how big it gets, because some people are gonna be like, well, maybe I want a tree, but What'll it look
It is important that you pick an appropriate tree for the space you're planting, so it would be very helpful for someone if they're gonna come pick up a tree, that they get some
Some idea.
input of where to
Yeah.
put that, so they're not planting it
Yeah.
that right under the
Yeah.
utilities or, that kind of stuff. So I don't know how to do that outside of a single event where people pick up trees, because then it's a lot of one-off kind of consulting conversations with people, but they can come and pick one out, and if there's someone there, like maybe Elijah could help with that or something like that if he's around, but if we did an event where everybody could come get their trees all at once, then I could help with that. Or, but otherwise, people are gonna have to kind of do their own research, I think.
We're certainly open to doing it on a Saturday. I mean, if you're willing to come down and,
Yeah, so
Give
if
them
we
out
create an
or
event
help
where
them.
people, come get their
Pick
trees
up
at
day.
this day on this time, that would be great. But I think that planning something like that might also delay the process, because we have one task to distribute these. And if people can then take this and then just go pick out a tree, that's probably the most effective way for getting the trees out of Public Works hands. But if we want to plan something like that, I'd be willing to be a part of it.
I was thinking that's why I was thinking if, when we're walking around talking to people, if we had something to show them then, so they could make an educated,
Oh, sure.
be like, which tree do you want? Where were you thinking? Because
Okay.
this is what you'd want to do. So then when they get it, it's easy. Or we can just give them a one-off piece of paper that says, this is how you plant your tree, which we should do anyway. But it also occurs to me that walking around, a lot of people won't be home or probably won't answer their doors. So there may be less contact with people during this operation than we think. It might be more leaving things in people's mailboxes or whatever.
Gotcha.
So for that reason, we probably would. I don't know. I'm just brainstorming, but I mean, I think we could come up with like a single piece of paper that gives them enough information about the individual trees, how you plant them and how you care for them, that a person could show up cold and be like, okay, what are my choices and what am I in for if I do this?
If it's 20 or 30 trees, but not 20 or 30 different species of trees, if there's groups of them, then it wouldn't be too hard to have a
Presumably,
little,
it's probably 3 or
summary
something.
of like, this is how big this tree will get.
Yeah.
Then that can be just like you said, like a fact sheet
Yeah.
that they can look at when they're looking at a tree.
I don't know what Gary's been ordering from the tree place for the seedlings that we've got. I know most of them are red buds and,
Okay.
Are they leftovers from Arbor Day stuff or, yeah?
yeah, any of the extras we take and plant. That's where we got started.
2 of the Arbor Day trees this year were very large trees and 2 were small trees. So it really could go.
Well, those aren't ready to go, so.
But I'm projecting that into previous Arbor Day crops where there might be some big trees interspersed in there that need enough room. But
That's good.
I think the summary or the list of what species we have and the quantity is probably just a good place to start.
Okay, I'll get a count on them too, for sure, so you don't hand out too many cards. And we do have some funding in the budget for purchasing some trees, so we can find a good deal on trees of the same from Chenard's or Blue Heron or somebody, we can get a few extras.
Well, the Benton County, the Soil and Water are doing their tree sale in a couple of months, and they have a bunch of like bare root things, and they're like $3 each. I mean, they're dirt, they're nothing. And they're natives, and there are a bunch of them that would, I mean, not Doug fir, but there's some good like cascara or sort of shrubby tree types that might be nice. Of course, those are smaller, so.
So we can get a count. I mean, when you're handing the cards out, you could set a Saturday and say, we'll be there from this time if you want to pick them up, which is probably better because we're only there 8 to 4:30 and through the week, and not a lot of people can hit that timeline. So the Saturday for a couple hours or something, they can show up.
Yeah, and you just come, bring their card with them, so they're from that particular area.
That's your ticket in.
Yeah, it's your ticket into your free tree shopping spree.
Sure.
Great.
Okay.
That's one other thing I would mention on this is that it says that they're ready to go, but it might be helpful to make more explicit that these are free, which it doesn't mention on this card. The vibe is there, but if I saw this, I wouldn't be entirely sure if they were just available or if I had to pay for them. So we'll just make that more clear for folks.
Yeah. Hopefully we can clarify that in the door knocking conversation. Don't have to
Exactly.
reprint everything.
No.
And just make notes, keep one and make notes on it for next year. I mean, it's,
Yeah,
Okay, so
Project in
sounds like
motion.
the next action is get the list. And then start looking at a time where we want to kind of gather for the canvassing part. Maybe a sort of meeting before that on what that one-page paper is going to look like, so that we can say, here's how you take care of these kind of trees, and it kind of gives it grows this big, this tall, and that, all of that sort of fact sheet stuff, right? Cool.
so we need two things. We need the list of the neighborhood. We need to find out
Well, that's the
specific
other thing, is
neighborhoods.
to get the list of the neighborhoods.
We need a list of neighborhoods. We need a list of what kind of trees we have.
Yep.
And we need to make
And from that,
Something.
then we can make a point
Flyer
sheet,
to-
fact sheet.
So we got three things we got to do.
And then
And we
we'll,
got to do this fast.
and then we'll decide what day we want to go out, so it not get wet.
Yeah.
Do some door knocking. Okay, cool. Anything else about that?
I don't have anything else.
Awesome. Okay, tree health concerns.
Yeah, so the American elm out here in front of the library, it's one of our heritage trees. I've been watching it for the last year or so, have some limbs that are flagging, so the leaves are dying but not falling off the tree. And that is a warning sign of Dutch elm disease. It's a really bad pathogen. It's not, we don't have a lot of elm trees around here, so we're not as familiar with it, but it's a big deal. And so what I wanted to do is take some samples from that and just confirm whether that is what's going on or not, because that will really dictate what management looks like for that tree. There's not, unfortunately, a cure for that once it's already established in a tree. All of the the pesticide applications are all preventative. So what you can do, if it's really minimally affecting a tree, you can prune out that portion and 5 or 6 feet down below where that's infected.
Yeah.
But what it looks like on this tree, it's probably beyond what would be possible for that. So
God.
it's not good news. I just kind of wanted to put it on Public Works radar for this, probably something that will need to be dealt with at some point. If it's not Dutch elm disease, then it's probably not such a big deal. It also might just be effects of the road work that's been done and that kind of stuff, or something like that. But if it is Dutch elm disease, it's going to continue to decline significantly, and it'll either need to be removed or possibly slowly kind of reduced.
Yeah, presumably it poses a safety hazard, obviously, if things are going to start falling off, that would not be good.
Yeah, so it will, if it is Dutch elm disease, it will slowly continue to die, so there will be large dead sections of the tree. One other consideration, though, is that pathogen is spread by a bark beetle, an elm bark beetle. And so if you have a sick tree, it attracts that beetle,
That's a host.
and then it makes, it causes the population of that beetle to grow because there's a food source. And so if there are other elm trees in the area, sometimes the management is to remove those trees completely so that it doesn't create a food source, right? There's not a lot of elms around here, especially in Philomath. I don't know of any other elms of significant size at all. So it might be okay, even if it is Dutch elm disease, to keep that tree and just kind of, we might get another 3-5 years out of it. If we do, just if we're willing to prune the dead material out and keep it from being a safety hazard, you might be able to retain it for a while, but we'll kind of have to talk about that once we know.
I think Gary, you were
Yeah, so
emailing.
Gary said
go
that
ahead and
he
do it, or-
was aware of something happening there because there is a dead branch on that tree that they pruned out, I think, last year. And it sounded like he had maybe tried to get someone to come out and diagnose the tree or whatever, and that didn't happen for some reason.
We had somebody that called and said they thought it was Dutch elm disease and wanted to test it, and we said, yeah, go ahead. I mean, it was a volunteer thing, and he said he never showed up to do it. And
Okay.
I think he said you said it wouldn't cost a whole
Well,
lot.
so the way that you diagnose it is you have to get up there, cut some branches off, and then shave the bark off and look at the tissue to see if there's streaking there. So if it looks a certain way, you might be able to positively identify it from that. If that's not there, you can send those samples into the OSU extension, and for $50 to $100, they can, or they can confirm that with a microscope. So the problem is that all those limbs are 50 feet off the ground, so you gotta climb up in the tree or use a limb.
Well, yeah, but we have a cherry picker, yeah. We have a bucket.
It's out of service at the moment, yes.
So I have a tree service, I'm a certified arborist, I'm willing to climb up there and take the samples and do that if you guys are okay. Me doing that. I was hoping to do it before the meeting, so I had more information for you, but I wasn't able to get to that, so. But the next step is to do that initial just on-site assessment, see if we can determine it from there. If not, then send some samples in. But I'll donate my time for that, and then
Thank you for
the
that.
sampling is just like less than $100 probably for the test.
Or just given we don't want to wait for the next committee thing. I presume that you'll then give that information to
I'll
us.
send a summary.
And then liaise
Yeah.
with Gary, and if it has to be removed or with all that stuff, then we'll put that into the normal process of things that gets done at Public Works level.
You'll pull the branches that
And
you
thank
could
you
send
for-
in at the same time as you're
Yes.
doing that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so
Seems
just
like
one
time is
climb.
of the essence here, so.
It's not really, so with Dutch elm disease, basically the way you control it preventatively is you only prune trees during the dormant season, which is basically October through May usually. And so that's when the beetles are not active. And so we really kind of have all winter to decide what to do with it before pruning you don't want to prune it in the summer because then those fresh cuts can attract beetles. And so that's part of how you keep the disease from spreading. So really, it's not particularly time sensitive. The tree's not died back enough to really be a safety hazard at this point. So we just need to kind of make a decision probably in the next couple months for how to manage it.
Okay,
Well, thank you for your
yes, thank you.
offer of getting after that.
Is there anything, I was gonna just bring some like traffic cones and kind of like cone off of several of the parking spaces around there so that people aren't trying to park underneath where we're working. Or anything more involved in that we need to do to secure the parking lot?
No.
Okay.
You'll be inundated with people probably asking you what you're doing.
Yeah, so that's why we had,
Are you cutting this tree?
yeah.
You know there's a heritage tree.
I wouldn't recommend doing it Sunday afternoon while the farmers.
Yeah, that would be.
Feel like the circus came to town.
Anything else on that? Any other things about the tree board business that could be order or otherwise for you folks? Okay.
Not at this point. I will, just one comment. This is my first time serving on a tree board. I know every city has a different way of using the tree board, and so far ours has largely been to kind of like cover some of the heritage trees sort of things and planting stuff, but mostly in my experience of it has been that it's a review committee for tree removal of public trees. There's more things like this planting conversation we're happening that we could help with. And so I'm just kind of throwing that out there is that, yes, we are volunteers and, whatever, but at least Gianna and I know are really interested in being a part of helping our urban forests thrive. So if there are things that are either hard for Public Works to do or doesn't fit into the time or whatever, like I'm interested in being a part of that beyond just being a review resource.
You'll be sorry for that one.
Make
I
it
was
sorry.
looking,
Go
as a matter
ahead.
of fact, today, it's been a while since our arboricultural manual and our the name always escapes me, our tree,
Inventory?
not the inventory, the tree What is that?
What, like your street tree
Like a
list,
booklet.
like that kind of?
It includes that, but it's the whole thing of growing the canopy.
Like the management plan?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
It's been quite a while since they've been updated, and I think Jerry Mock, Bill Dunn, and Lige worked on the last one, so, and that was tree board stuff,
Just a while
so.
ago.
If you're interested in that, that's, I mean, we can put that together and,
I'm open to talking about it.
okay, super.
Okay.
Sweet.
Well, you folks are more than welcome to stay for this part, or you can take this moment to
We be
have the rest
excused.
of your day.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Somebody's about ready to do a dance routine for us. You gonna do a dance routine for us before you go?
Dun, dun, dun. All right, we'll move on then to Public Works business. So Kev, we'll start with loading zone, apparently at the laundromat.
That's right.
Yeah, I got a whole different story on it today, at lunchtime. Originally, it came into me as a request for just a loading zone, so apparently several people just pull up in the street and they have a ramp and everything already there. They can wheel their clothes in, load it all up, bring it back, unload it and take off, or dump it, take off, come back when it's ready and do it. So they were requesting a loading zone, 15-minute, I think.
So limited
time.
parking thing. loading
But
zone.
then I was told at lunchtime that it was more of a request for a couple of limited parking time slots because the neighboring businesses, people are parking in front where that loading zone is and parking there all day and taking that away. So I looked, I don't even remember, because I was gonna reread how I found out, and I don't remember how I found out about it. Did that come through you, or?
I think Gary approached me about it.
That's true.
Gary about it.
Oh, yeah, maybe it was.
Parking lot, right? And that- Okay. But this is the space right on the street itself in front of basically the front of
The front door of the laundromat.
yeah.
I know this is dark, but this is it here, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's really
Wider one.
there's kind of two parking spaces there
There's a wider one.
between,
Oh,
Oh, there you go.
yeah, there's two
Two
spaces there
spaces there, right?
between the driveway for their parking lot and if it's actual bulb out or just where the stop sign is there. So you can see right now, there's kind of those two marked areas. The one furthest back closest to their parking lot entrance is already hashed out. Part of their entrance into their parking lot is hashed out so that you could fit a vehicle there. If that wasn't hashed out, that almost, other than they got the tree and stuff planted there now, but I mean, you can see where the curb cut is, right? So
Yeah,
half of that parking spot is on the one side of the curb cut, and the other half's on the other side of the curb cut. My recommendation to Gary was if they wanted that spot that they've already kind of created themselves by hashing out their own driving area, if they wanted to do that as a 10-minute or 15-minute, want to put us out there, I'm fine with that. I don't think it'd be appropriate to give them both street
yeah.
parking areas. If they're just looking for a quick unload, load, it's not like they got 300 people coming here every, so my recommendation to Gary was if they want to put one for that back one, that'd be fine. It's kind of halfway created because of them anyway. But I wouldn't do the front one with any type of frame on it. That was my recommendation to him.
There are other signs like that in Philomath, loading zone, 15-minute loading zone.
They've got one in front of like Space.
Space.
Space, they got
There's one out in front of the,
Oh, I know, okay, yeah.
yeah, I think there's one on that 16th Street or 17th Street. It's kind of the backside of True Value where
yeah.
there's the insurance agent there. There's one
Yeah.
there. mostly they've come because of complaints or concerns from business owners that, same thing, they want parking for their customers rather than employees that sit there, employees typically from other businesses, employees that sit there in their customers' parking spot. This is a little different because it's public road. But, we want those commercial parking spaces to be used for commercial activity, not for employees to park. So if employees have got to park another block off, I think that's only fair to keep these spots open for customers. And, long term, at some point, when parking becomes a big issue in Philomath, we'll be looking at, all of the area will have a parking time frame on it, like you see in downtown Corvallis or anywhere else, right? You're gonna have 1 hour time limits or whatever else, wherever. We don't have the manpower or the need to enforce that today, but that's the purpose for those, right? Is they want to keep cars moving through there, not just sitting on parking all day long. So I don't have a problem with them. I don't mind these recommendations and requests coming in. But I also recognize that some people need a place to park for more than 15 minutes at a time as well, so.
Okay,
Are you all good with the
we're all got,
10 or 15 minute on the one, but not on the other?
Your recommendation, that makes sense to me. What's the mechanism? Do we vote on that?
Mayor McMorran, you still with us?
That sounds good to me.
Okay, good. So by consensus, we're in agreement.
There we go.
Good. Okay, next is the FCC stormwater methodology discussion. This is where you break the popcorn out, right?
Yeah, I'll take this one. Kirk couldn't be here, had something come up. Didn't want to cancel, didn't want to punt this down the road. I can walk through this with you fairly quickly. I did go through, highlight some stuff, I'll jump out. I'll assume that you've had some time to kind of go through it on your own. So let me hit the high points, take questions at the end. Big picture, we have a methodology for each of the SDCs. There's 5 separate system development charges that we charge: water, sewer, street, stormwater, and parks. Each of them has their own methodology or calculation of how you determine what you're going to charge with them. And so because we've just recently updated the storm master plan, it makes sense then to update the storm methodology for your SDCs, because part of the calculation you'll see is based on your master plan, what goes on. So as the master plans get updated, the methodology, this methodology has been updated since 1998. So it's time to do a little update here and how we calculate how much we're charging for SDCs. So I'm going to cruise through there. At the very bottom of the paragraph says, as with all methodologies, the goal of this effort is to update the existing methodology to ensure it is understandable, defensible, and equitable to both existing and future users of the system. Understandable is a given. Sometimes these methodologies can get so convoluted, so complex, it's ridiculous. You need a PhD just to figure out what you're supposed to be billing or collecting. So understandable, keep it simple. Defensible, when we calculate these STCs and give them to the developer and they say, well, I don't think this is right, we need to be able to defend it, and we need to be able to point back to our methodology and say, this methodology is an appropriate methodology and it complies to state statute on what we're allowed to charge and what we're not allowed to charge for. All right, so that's defensible. And then equitable is a tricky word, right? But we want it to be fair, right? We shouldn't put all of the cost of all future development on the developers, because some of the cost of development is replacement cost of what's already there. And that's the people that are using it should have to pay for that. So that's your utility rate users, right? So we have a stormwater utility rate that all property owners pay every month. A good, all of that money comes in and that money gets used to make improvements. We also have the SDC, which is for new development, and they pay part of that for reimbursement of existing pipe, and some of it's for investment into future pipe that needs to get laid or future infrastructure needs to put out. So you want it to be equitable, right? You don't want one to pay for all of it or the other to pay for all of it. Everybody pays equitably. Part of the methodology for the storm that I appreciate, especially for this methodology, we'll talk about here in a minute, which is the way that this has been calculated. Everybody, current property owners, future property owners, is paying the same amount, because they take the total value of the total built-out infrastructure, existing and future, and they put a price tag on that. What's the value of that?
Yep.
And then they look at what's the total build-out of the entire city once we get to our 20-year planning cycle, which is what our storm master plan looks at. So 20 years total build-out, what's the value, what's the cost of that? To put all that in there, the value of existing plus cost of future, there's a price there, and then it's a math problem, right?
Right.
Total cost and value divided by total number of people that will be using it in the next 20 years, gets you a cost per essentially square foot or per linear foot of pipe, right? Or cost per, well, it gets you a cost per person is what it does. Is every person that is or will live here in the next 20 years, if they pay this amount of money into the system, it will pay for the current and future system over that 20-year period. So it's just a math problem, right? We look at everything is divided out, and then it doesn't matter if you're existing or new, if you're coming in today or you're going to be here 19 years from now, everybody's paying the same amount for the full system at full build out. So the math's pretty easy, and this breaks it down less simple than that, but that's the gist of it here.
Yep.
Again, last was updated in 98. At that time, it was $803 per equivalent dwelling unit. So for one housing unit, $803. We update this every year because it costs more money every year to do construction. So there's an index that we're tied to. So in 2025, it had gone up from 803 in 98 up to 1967 in 2025. This SDC update is going to recommend an SDC go up to 2965. So from 1967, based on the old methodology and the old way of calculating it, with these new calculations, we're going to be looking at 2965 for the new SDC. And then it breaks it down how they get to that number. For the overview, again, there's a reimbursement fee, which to the value of the existing improvements that are already in the ground. There's an improvement fee, which is going to address cost of needed future improvements. And then additionally, the state law allows for an administrative fee, which is the cost for Kevin and me to calculate this, to update this methodology every 4 or 5 years, whatever. So there's an administrative fee of 1% that the state law allows us to tack on. So those are the three separate components to it.
Yep.
Page 2. The 98 methodology did not place any reimbursement value. It was just looking at the future improvement fee. This methodology does try to give credit for that existing system. Because again, we're looking at what's the total system in 20 years. That includes what's there today.
Right.
So that's included in that total cost. The basis for the improvement fee is the capital improvement plan. So we looked at that 20-year master plan. Within that plan, there's a list of projects that are to be done in the next 20 years. And there's a total cost for that new improvement. So that gets entered in there, and that's what establishes your improvement fee. So you got reimbursement, improvement. I'm down to the last sentence of the second to last paragraph. It says that this allocation is dependent only upon the value of the existing facilities, the estimated cost of the required future improvements, and the number of EDU in the benefited area. So that's what I talked about at the beginning. It's if you build more houses faster, and commercial industrial is a little different, but we'll get there. If you build more houses faster, you'll collect more money sooner, and you'll build the infrastructure
The
quicker.
infrastructure will come out quicker. Yeah.
If we don't do any development for the next 15 years, we won't collect any SDC money, and we won't have anything to build, and we won't have the money to build it. So it's not timing, it's just a matter of total cost over that 20-year cycle. Now, again, this needs to be updated. If we do grow really, really fast, then we're probably going to update this in 5 years. If we don't see a lot of growth, we probably need to change this for another 10 years. It'll be fine. So again, development is what's going to spur the timing of how quickly we update this and how much money comes in. Between 98 to now, a lot has changed, but we also didn't update the master plan until just now. And so again, this is the appropriate time.
Well, I assume that in that time, because 98 is a long, it doesn't seem like this. It should be a long time ago, but it was a long time ago already. Yeah, 28 years. Anyway, the things have changed, like even your own standards have changed in terms of like the size of the minimum size of your sewer pipe. That used to be this big is now this big, for example, yeah, in that time. So there's been other changes of the system in terms of the minimum requirements, right? Looking towards that future part too. So, so this kind of rounds all of that up now and establishes the new rate.
Yeah, and the storm master plan was the last of our master plans to get updated. So when I started, we had gone through and updated all the plans. When I got here, the plans, all of the plans were a little long in the tooth, but we did water, we did sewer, we did the parks at about the same time. We updated the street. We updated the street again, did a smaller update to the street, and storms just always kind of been the one kind of lagged out there. But it's kind of the smallest. It's a, whatever. It's growing now. But it was just a matter of timing just to get to storm master plan. Took a few years to get that as a priority and get it done. And then here we are a year later getting the methodology up to date. But again, going forward, I foresee this will get done more regularly, the storm master plan. We won't wait 28 years to update the storm master plan again, unless we again just see no development for the next 15, 20 years, and then it might be 10 or 15 years before we do it. But I don't anticipate that being the case. So top of page 3, to your point, a 12-inch storm line is considered the minimum size required for any development property. So that is the standard that we based it on. Excuse me, population projections. They're useful for anticipating future needs, but the rate of growth to reach the projected population doesn't impact the fee calculation. We talked about a little bit. The fee is based on funding needed to the improvements to support growth independent of when that population happens. So again, kind of repeating myself here, but talked a little about the annual adjustment. The recommendation is that we will tie this SDC fee to an index. Same index we tie all of our other SDCs to. It's the Engineering News Report, ENR. They do a nationwide 20-city average. We can look at that in any given time. Essentially, when we adopt this new methodology, we'll take a look at what the ENR is at that date. And then the next year, we'll see how much it changed. And if it went up 3%, then we'll increase the rate 3%. If it went up 2%, we'll increase the rate 2%. Similar to what we do with all of our other SDCs. So typically in January of each year is when we update that. Because again, we don't want to continue to collect the same amount of money when the cost of construction is going up. We'd fall behind. We'd never collect enough money to do projects, right? So we will tie that to that, and then it makes a point in July 2025, it was 13,893. But again, when we actually approve this, when we get to January, we'll look and see what the number is then, and then we'll just update that next year. So we will be tying it to an index. That's just best practices. On page 4, this talks about implementing the new methodology. We don't have any specific contractors that have specifically told us we want to be made aware. But as a courtesy, we treat all developers that have done construction within the city in the last year or two as interested parties. And so once the city council has, or once this group actually has decided that we're good to go with these numbers, we'll send out a public notice notifying all of the contractors that have done work in the city in the last 2 years. Send them notice that we're updating our storm STC methodology. We'll give them copies of all of it. We'll set a hearing date 3 months out, at least the 90 days out, where they can come and they can provide testimony if they want to. And then between that time, we'll give notice to the newspaper and all the things that we're supposed to public notice. So we're ways out. We want to make sure that the construction industry has got plenty of notice what STCs are going to be in the future. It's a fairly substantial change, several $100s, per unit that'll make a difference. So we give lots of notice. We're not in a huge hurry, other than it'd be good to get approval today so we can start that 90-day count and set that hearing date. So if you don't have specific interested parties, then it's a minimum 60 days for the hearing to your existing folks. But again, I'm not in a huge rush for this. To me, if we get approval tonight, we'll look at the calendar 3 months out. Plus, we'll see when the next council meeting after that, that'll be our hearing date. And then once the hearing date has been approved, then we determine when's the effective date, right? And that'll be some date after that hearing. So
Okay.
there's some time still. We're doing the approvals now and recommendations now, but we won't actually pass a resolution. It'll actually be I think it's by resolution that these get updated, so.
Does it also go out, or does the notice go out to developers too, or just contractors?
Yeah, both.
Both?
Yeah, both. And general public, and
Oh,
we hit everybody. I tell everybody. When it talks about credits for eligible construction, a method, so this is by Oregon statute, requires that a method of credits be available for construction of qualified public improvements. There's a lot more information about the statute, but the most important one is at the very bottom. The very last line says credits provided to developers that construct an STC eligible project are based on the actual costs incurred. So there's some guidelines here, but at the end of the day, the development at Mill Pond is probably most familiar to both of you. When a developer comes in and is required to put a project in place that's STC eligible, which means it's on the list of projects that STCs were calculated for, if they're going to do that project as part of their development that's not serving their development, we'll give them credit for it based on the actual cost of that project. It's agreed upon ahead of time. There's agreement puts in place, we sign it, they do the project, we give them the credits for that project. It's not based on this, but this is kind of a guideline of, what those values would be. Make sense? All right. Value of the storm drainage construction credits, again, that's there based on the July 2025 ENR of 13,893. That will change over time, but it's a good guideline for them. Bottom page 5, credit for pre-existing use. If you have a house and you demolish it, and then you want to build a new house, we don't charge a new SDC fee, right? Because you already paid the SDC. If you have a house and you demolish it and then it sits vacant for 2 years, it says anything more than 2 years, 2 years, 3 years, now you come in one house, you pay a new SDC fee, right? So there's a timetable that ticks in there. We're fairly lenient with that. I mean, you don't have to have it built, you just have to have your permit submitted. As long as we've approved a permit within that 2-year period, we'll give you credit for the SDC for what was there before. We do that for sewer, storm, everything. All of the SDCs we give credit for. As a side note, kind of just the math is kind of fun. It's not uncommon that they'll tear down a house and put in a duplex. Right? So if you tear down a house, put in a duplex, we'll give you credit for 1 unit's worth of SDCs, but then you're going to pay the extra, the difference, right? So we try to be very fair with that. We do the calculation, we show them all the math. And we've gotten better, I will say, even at our pre-application meetings, we talk about SDCs and what the impacts will be right up front. We don't usually have calculations, but I'll give them the schedule, say, here's all the SDC fees. When you're ready to submit your project, I can give you an estimate on what it's going to cost you, right? So we try to be very upfront with that cost because they can be fairly substantial for bigger projects. So that's credit for pre-existing, gets us to page 6. SDC administration requirements. Talked about that reimbursement fee is to expend it on, well, this is kind of important. So I'm in the second paragraph already. The state statute allows a reimbursement fee, so that's the money that you're getting for infrastructure already in the ground, to be extended on any capital improvements associated with, or capital improvements or associated debt service within the subject infrastructure. So any of the storm SDC is split into 2, reimbursement and investment. The reimbursement portion of it, when we collect that, we can pay for any storm-related project we want to. Could be new, could be old, anything, doesn't matter. Firstly, when we collect the improvement fee, which is based on what is the estimated cost for future, it can only be paid for future things, right?
Gotcha.
Can't collect investment dollars and then use it to replace old pipe.
We can't upsize?
Upsizing, only the portion that's upsized though. So if you're going from an 8-inch pipe to 12-inch pipe, the cost and pipe difference, we could pay for with improvement.
Oh,
But the
okay.
8-inch portion worth of it, the value of that 8-inch has to be reimbursement dollars. Yep. Yep. Those are fun calculations.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then the administrative fee, this is once a year, and we haven't started charging administrative fees until just the last couple of years. So this is fairly new for us. So I'd have to go back and look at the books to see if we've done this correctly or not. But the administrative fee that we collect with the SDCs gets transferred once a year from the SDC account to whichever account it is that's doing the work. So somewhere in the general fund, probably to the finance department, similar to like the administrative fee we charge for water and sewer and whatever else, for administrating those departments. Similarly, for administrating SDCs, we transfer that administrative fee out of the SDC fund into the general fund, probably to the finance department as a revenue line item. Well, as long as it's going to the general fund, doesn't really matter which department, but it'd come into the general fund as a line item for like SDC administrative fee. We'd have one-time transfer. I can't guarantee you that we've done that correctly the last couple of years, but I will be double checking to see that we're doing that. We didn't used to charge administrative fee on any of our SDCs. We've started with the new methodology. For review procedure, eventually the gist of this is on the top of the third paragraph, says if a private developer objects to the calculation of a system development fee, the city will take into consideration a utility impact analysis prepared specifically for the development that substantiates the demand on the infrastructure.
Yep.
Basically, we'll take a second look, right? If we're gonna charge you a storm SDC, you disagree because you think it's way too high, we'll look at what infrastructure is going in, what it's replacing, what the impact is, make sure that all the numbers balance. We'll give that back to you and say, we've taken a second look, this all makes sense, we believe it's right. You still have a chance to appeal that. That could come up to the subsequent formal conclusion by the city may be contested through the procedures established in ORS 34, blah, 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 for a writ of review. So they can actually take that to the court and ask for a decision on whether it's being interpreted correctly or not. So they've got legal authority to have their view. Again, all the more important is to have it understandable and defensible, right? And to be equitable as we're doing those calculations. There are times where maybe I've got a bad input. Maybe I've got on my records it's a 12 or a 14-inch line and it's only a 12-inch line. They changed their mind. They did the math and figured out, oh, we don't need a 14, we only need a 12. And if I don't have that information yet, I might still have 14 down. It's just a correction, right? It's like, oh, I didn't know you were doing the 12-inch. Now that I know, do the math, here's your new number. Excuse me, take care of it. So that happens occasionally.
Yep.
As plans get updated as they get closer to construction. I talked about what's an equivalent dwelling unit earlier on page 7.
Yeah.
It has a little bit about streets. In 1998, the methodology included impervious areas, including the streets, right? So a street in front of a residential neighborhood got calculated into how much that is. With this new methodology, we're not taking account for streets at all. We assume that housing and industrial development, commercial development is going to have streets, but we don't really have a way to ever collect an SDC on a street unless you're literally going to, count square footage of asphalt that's out there, and then you get into these battles where they want a small. And this methodology doesn't go down that rabbit hole. It's just based on the impervious surface on the tax lot, not out in the street. So no streets are included in this, and they look at an EDU. When you hear EDU with storm, it's specific to residential only. Okay, so equivalent dwelling unit, dwelling unit being key for residential where you're living. So if somebody starts talking industrial or commercial property, as you'll see in the math later, we don't convert a commercial dwelling or a commercial space of 3,000 square foot to being the equivalent of one residential unit of 3,000 square foot. Mm-hmm. Equivalent dwelling unit is just for residential. So for residential, we make the assumption based on some math that's in here that a typical residential unit is going to have 3,000 square feet of impervious surface between the roof, walkway, driveway, whatever. It's an average, it's a good number. It's what our previous number was So it's kind of consistent with what we've been doing on residential. It's a good number, so that's the number we're going to continue to use. One EDU, equivalent dwelling unit, is 3,000 square feet of impervious area.
Yep.
And again, here's the math in the third paragraph. Our current data is that each equivalent dwelling unit is 2.77 people per household. We estimate a population going out 20 years of 7,500 people. And so we do the math and you figure out at 2,700 EDU with 3,000 square feet per impervious surface gives you a total of 8.1 million square feet of residential development over the 20-year
Yep.
timetable that we're working with.
Yep.
And then the other side of the equation is trying to figure out how much total square footage of impervious surface you're going to have. So we look at how much are we intending to build, how many new units of residential are we going to build within that time. And there's a calculation for commercial industrial. But anyway, going through the whole math on paragraph 4, which I won't go, at the end of the 77 acres, 38.5 acres worth is going to be considered to be impervious, which is 1.7 million square feet of impervious at full build out. Those two combined, residential, commercial, industrial, gives you a total, which you get to the second last paragraph of the page, excuse me, of 9.8 million square feet of impervious surface. So at 3,000 square foot per unit, that equates to 3,270 EDU at full build out. Those numbers will mean more on the next page. But that's how the math goes. So if you want to follow the math more closely, again, you can follow through there. It's just kind of walking you through how do you figure out what is that full build out amount. These are the numbers that talk about what is that full build out, both for total number of houses in commercial industrial and total population within that time on that as well. So those big numbers, again, you'll see in the next page. But before we get there, reimbursement fee asset summary. I'm going to read the last paragraph here on page 7. It says it better than I could make it up. The reimbursement and improvement fees include the replacement value of existing improvements and the estimated cost of needed future improvements allocated proportionally to all users in the area. This methodology equitably accounts for excess capacity as well as various system deficiencies by allocating the value of existing the existing improvements, which is in the reimbursement fee, and the cost of all needed improvements, which is in the improvement fee, over the total of all existing and future users. This ensures the charge to future users is no more than the allocation to existing users.
Gotcha.
Again, a little summary of kind of what I've been preaching from the get-go, but I like the way that summarizes it. In my mind, that math works out really, really nice. This is a different methodology than what others use. There's other ways of calculating it. I think this is a very simple, very understandable, very defensible way to do it. A little bit more information about reimbursement fee and what the intent is. A little bit of caveat due to the age of the infrastructure, what was counted. We essentially give a credit here, the third paragraph says to quantify the current value and acknowledge the prior contributions from private development. The value of a 12-inch pipe and smaller line is excluded from the oversized values listed in the following table.
Gotcha.
So we recognize that a lot of what got built out was built with private dollars, not public dollars. And so anything that's less than a 12-inch pipe, we essentially don't count that in the value
Right.
of existing, right? We're getting to the cost of the value of the existing infrastructure. And we're not going to count anything less than 12 inches. So we're only counting big pipe. 15 inches or bigger is what we're evaluating for the reimbursement fee. Why 15 and not 12 or 10 or 8? It's the methodology that we're using. As long as we approve of this methodology, we're good and it's defensible. It doesn't have to be this number, but I like this number because again, pretty much anything 12 inches or less is pretty much put in by private development, right? The city's not doing 12-inch storm pipes around town.
Right.
We're putting in big pipes
Yeah.
in streets that are collectors and, larger things. So I'm good with this number. If Kevin has input on that, we can talk through that as well, but I think the number's good. It gives you a total oversized replacement cost of $7,189,950, so almost $7.2 million for the value of what's in the ground now. That's if we had to replace everything existing today, that would be our number, right? So that's the value of existing infrastructure that's more than 12-inch pipe. So we're on the reimbursement fee. Or that is that second part of that reimbursement fee or the calculation, right? That's a current value. So to calculate, that's the final number that we needed to calculate our reimbursement fee. So that's page 9. So on page 9, we'll just follow the math real quick to get the SDC reimbursement fee. So it's just the first portion. It's the total asset value divided by the square footage of impervious surface. So we just said our reimbursement, our asset value was the $7.2 million. We know that we've got $9.8 million of total impervious surface. So that gets you to 0.734 cents per square foot. And if we're assuming 3,000 square foot per EDU, then our reimbursement fee for residential is going to be $2,202 per unit, per residential unit.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just for reimbursement. Now we got to talk about improvement, right? But for all those reimbursement, for the reimbursement portion, that's what we would charge. So for capital improvement plan, the storm drain system capital improvement plan, again, we take into account the current 2025 ENR CCI as of July was at this 13,893 because this number will change, right? By the time we adopt this number might change a little bit because if we don't adopt it for 3 or 4 or 5 months, we're going to go back and we're going to say, well, back in July it was this, now it's this, that increased 1.5%. So we're not going to start behind the curve. We're going to adjust that to 1.5% or whatever the increase in the CCI was, or the ENR CCI. And that'll be our starting number because we don't want to start behind, right? So as of today, for today's conversations, these are the numbers that we'll use, but when we actually implement, we'll update this number with whatever month it is that we're going to do, what our implementation date is. We'll update these numbers.
Yep.
But for now, here's all the improvement projects. They're broken down by basin. So this is based on the capital improvement plan that's in the stormwater master plan. Total value of $2.398 million, almost $2.4 million in value for future projects. So then we do the math, which is going to be our total estimated cost for all the future improvements, divided by the total impervious surface, the same number, 9.8 million. So you got the 2.389 million divided by 9.8 million square feet, gets you 0.245 per square foot, or 24.5%, or 24.5 cents per square foot.
Yeah.
And for residential, if you're talking 3,000 square foot for equivalent dwelling unit, it's $734 per new home. So you're looking at,
That'd be a new addition to the 2202.
so you're looking at the 2965, the 2202 is reimbursement portion, and 734 would be the improvement portion.
Yeah.
There's a 1% admin fee, which is $29. So that gets you the $2,965 per EDU for residential development. Pretty easy math.
Which is that.
Commercial industrial, we don't look at the EDU. So we just don't do that last calculation where we divide it by 3,000, right? Because it's not 3,000. It's just the amount, the original amount, the cost per square foot. So for commercial industrial, we look at how many square feet of impervious surface do you have? And that's the amount we charge per square foot.
Gotcha.
We don't stair step it. We don't group it, you know.
Because it's a multiplier.
Yeah, it's multiplier.
3 million square feet versus.
We could do bins, right? We'd say if you're 0 to 3,000 square foot, it's this amount.
Yeah.
If it's 3,000 to 5,000, it's this amount.
Yeah.
But why? We have the multiplier. We just use the multiplier, right? So every additional square foot of improved surface is an additional almost dollar, 98.9 cents, right? So it's just under $1 a square foot for impervious surface for commercial industrial development, which is, again, the same numbers for residential. We're not charging a premium. It's roughly the same amount for residential. It's just for residential, we assume 3,000 square foot rather than doing the actual square footage. Now, for residential, we could do the same thing. We could require residential to give us actual impervious square footage, house,
Sure, you could take
side, whatever,
3,000.
and we'd use the same multiplier.
Figure, that's.
We could just get rid of the EDU altogether and just say, we're not going to assume 3,000 square foot. We're going to calculate how much impervious. So a 5,000 square foot home, single level, right? That's got a triple driveway and a long driveway to boot is going to pay more than the 1,200 square foot, 2-story, very small footprint postage stamp with a single car garage and a single car driveway. It makes smaller homes a little more affordable because you're charging less of an SDC. It's just more math on the input side, right? But we're doing the math for everything else anyway. The way that he proposed this, it's to assume 3,000 square foot per residential to keep it simple. I don't have a problem if you talk about it, if you want to, in an effort to help smaller homes be a little more affordable, have a less of a high SDC fee. If we wanted to calculate it based on actual square footage for residential, I'm telling you, I don't have a problem with that at all. We'll treat residential and commercial industrial the same, do it per square foot.
Yeah, that was the very first thing that I actually came up with. Why would we do it this way and then this? Yeah. I mean, from a consistency standpoint, it would seem to be a lot easier just to do it. The calculated fee is on 3,000, that's your base. And then, of course, if you're less than that, it's going to cost you less. If you're more than that, it costs you more. Boom, done.
The difference is going to be, which doesn't make this distinction interesting to me, for multifamily units, like an apartment complex, for example. Our current methodology treats apartment complexes similar to commercial industrial. So we calculate, we don't count number of units times this larger, the 2,965. For multifamily units, which is anything today, it's anything more than 3 units, so a fourplex or more, we have the engineers tell us how much impervious surface they actually have. And we actually do convert that to how many EDU that is. So we take that number, say it's 20,000 divided by 3,000, we go out to the hundredth, so we got 2 decimal points, and then we do that number times however much per EDU. So there's a little conversion there, and maybe there's a little bit of rounding there because we're only going out 2 decimal places. But again, that's treating them more like commercial and industrial rather than residential. I would think right now, one change that could be made to this, and it's a simple change, but we need to clarify whether multifamily housing is going to be treated like residential, where we're saying if you're a 25-unit apartment complex, it's 25 times 2,965, because that's the EDU, right? Or are we going to treat you more like a commercial and industrial?
That's 2 EDUs, so.
Right.
Mayor McMorrin, I see your hand up.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I appreciate the question that you brought up, Counselor Salsa. I had the same thought, just that it seems a lot simpler to just do it by square footage for everyone. And then, Chris, as you were talking, I mean, I also agree that I think it seems more aligned with a lot of the work we've been doing to sort of incentivize, or not necessarily incentivize, but make it easier to build smaller houses as well. Just some of the other work the council's been doing, starter homes, homes for young folks, that kind of thing. And I think, I mean, even as I was sitting here, I was scrolling through Zillow trying to see how many houses are on the market that even have 3,000 square feet or anything near it. And it's not a ton. And I get that doesn't include all the impervious surface. But just to say, I think I would be in favor of doing it by square footage more than the 3,000 square foot as well.
Treat your multifamily residences with the same figure.
Yeah.
It would just be simple. You don't have one way and having divided by 3,000 to get equivalent. Anyway, that just seems like a nightmare, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it just makes it consistent. It's not industrial, it's residential, but it's applied the same way. It's just that factor is the same, and you count out how many units is gonna be impervious space,
Yeah.
boom, done. Yeah.
0.989 per square foot.
Boom, you're done.
I think it simplifies things. I'm okay on the front side of that still, in doing the initial calculation of how many people and how many units that's gonna be. I'm okay with using the 3,000 as an estimate
Sure,
to figure out
as the base.
what that should be as the base,
Yeah,
but I
that's
think
the
once you
base.
get to here, you
And that's
don't need to make the
consistent
same
with what
assumption here.
has been, so
Right.
the underlying methodology.
It's fine to have that in the methodology on how we arrived here, but we don't need, there's no requirement that we then return and use that 3,000 square foot EDU in calculating the STCs for residential. It's not necessary. If it was, you'd make the same mark for commercial and residential, right? Like, or commercial industrial, it also has to go back to the 3,000. And clearly we don't need to do that, so. Okay, well, I can add some language. I'll work with Kurt and we'll add some language in here to correct some of that, make it more in line.
Sure,
I think having them separate, residential versus commercial industrial is still okay, but I'll add in there, residential, including multifamily is calculated this way, and commercial industrial is also calculated that way.
Yeah.
Or we might not, we might just combine it, just say regardless of the type of development, this is the cost per square footage, and just keep it all one. So instead of having them separate, we'll just combine them into one calculation.
yep. Again, it just makes it simple, consistent. Yeah. Okay, what do you need from us?
With that change, dollar-wise good, methodology-wise good, with that change being made, are you comfortable with this methodology? Are we good for us to go ahead and get that correction done or make that amendment and then just to start publish, we'll find a date that's 90 days plus from today. And then we'll go ahead and set a first hearing date and get notices out to everybody.
Okay, let's just do this on consensus. So, Councilor Caseman,
Yes, agreed.
thumbs up.
Yep,
Mayor
yep.
McLaurin? Okay.
Same here. That sounds good.
Okay, me too. So, by unanimous consensus.
So yeah, unanimous consensus to approve the methodology with amendments discussed,
Right.
set a hearing date for 90 days plus out, and start to get notices out to the interested parties. Got it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
That was pretty cool. And well done.
Understandable.
Well done for the 30,000 foot view and
All there.
Earth there. Very nice.
Try really hard to make complicated things more understandable, and most of the time I try to get to where I can understand it,
Well, no, I get it.
and then I think it kind of gets there, so.
I like where Moore was going, but it's consistent with where our other visions are sort of headed anyway, so it keeps it in line with that. Very good.
I love the fact that you can get you can take a 5,000 square foot lot, you can put a, 1,200 square foot house on it, and, a 300 square foot driveway,
Yeah,
maybe larger, right? So you're talking, 2,000 square feet, and so we're only charging it for 2,000 square foot instead of assuming 3.
yeah,
That's 2/3 the cost, right? So
right.
instead of $3,000, you're paying $2,000. That's $1,000 just for charging you for what your actual impact is, rather than assuming everybody's gonna pay 3. And on the flip side, if you are gonna build something much, much bigger, we're not just collecting the $3,000 from you, we're collecting 4 or 5 because your impact is much larger. I love it.
And I'm assuming that means too, like if someone were to build a driveway that is impervious, then that would be a benefit to them in the SDC charge, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Industrial, commercial, or
That's cool.
residential. Yeah. There's
Yeah.
some code language that we need to update that talks about credit for or offsets to SDC fees. It's in the development code. It probably needs to be updated anyway, but it would be around the same line, right? That if you're going to build, for example, if your development is such that it requires you to build a storm detention and a storm quality facilities, do we just require that and still charge the full SDC, or is there some type of a credit that you get off your SDCs because you've just
Because
spent
you're managing.
$25,000 on a or a water quality treatment center that's going to treat the water before it gets into the system, right? Now, it's a discussion for a future time frame.
Got it.
Right now, this is part and parcel to itself.
Yeah.
There's some language that allows for that currently. We just need to revisit that language and see how much, because up until a couple of years ago, we didn't require water quality improvement. It was just storm detention. You had to keep it on site. That was just state law that had been existing forever. But the new water quality standards tack on a fairly substantial expense for some property owners. Anything more than a quarter acre of development.
Yeah.
So if you're developing and having an impact on more than a quarter acre of that property, you have to do on-site storm quality treatment and detention.
Yeah.
And it's not cheap. I mean, there's money there. And so is there benefit to the city to that enough that we would reduce the SDC fee? Or is that just assumed to be in addition to SDC? Because we still need the pipe from off of your site down to the river. We still need to have that pipe in place, which is what this is calculating, right?
Yeah.
The storm SDC doesn't calculate what's the cost of on-site detention or on-site water quality. So they could just be separate. Again, we made it look at that section and take away those benefits for improvement. But that's a discussion for future day. For now, this will stand on their own.
Cool. All right, any public work business to come before the committee? All right, anything else for the good of the order for the committee? All right, well, very good. Well, thank you for hanging in there with a little bit longer meetings that we normally have at the public works side. Appreciate that. We will call this meeting adjourned at 5:24 p.m. So let it be written.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Got stacked? Okay.
Thank you, guys. See you soon.
Thank you. Cheers.